What are some facts that can actually save someone's life? Drowning doesn't look like drowning. Further to, if there's a possibility someone has taken on water, the lungs respond to water with further fluid. And secondary drowning can occur 24 to 48 hours after an incident. A chest X-ray is required to determine whether there is water in your lungs after an incident, commonly referred to as secondary drowning. I've also heard it referred to as dry drowning. Along with secondary drowning, a lot of other problems cannot cause immediate symptoms. Like say organ trauma. Been hit by a car? If the EMT supposedly clears you after a basic physical, don't trust that. Crawl out of a burning building. Breathing as close as possible to the floor as you move. Toxic smoke rises while air remains more breathable nearest the floor. Dwight frantically saying stay below the smoke line while crawling in the fire episode always resonated with me. Did you guys all not have the firefighters come to your school with the pretend burning building wagon? If your vomit looks like coffee grounds, you may have internal bleeding. Head straight to the hospital. But if you pee is bright red, try to remember that you ate a full jar of beetroot the previous night before you start to panic and call the hospital. Posting on behalf of a friend. That reminds me of the time my parents' dog vomited on the floor and my mom thought she saw worms in it. She starts freaking out, tells my dad that they need to take the dog to the vet. My dad looks and says those are spaghetti noodles. She forgot that she had fed the dog spaghetti earlier. If one of your depressed friends suddenly starts acting really happy or peaceful, don't leave them alone. When suicidal people have a plan and are about to kill themselves, it can make them feel relieved, which can make it look like their depression is getting better. Especially if they become overly generous, such as giving things away or wanting to treat friends to dinner/drinks in an excessive way that is not usual for them. They're likely distributing what they have to those they love before leaving. In HS we watched a vid that was TBH a little old but still good info about suicide. In it the teen who ended up committing gave away his prized possession, a kite, to his best friend. That has stuck with me all these years, to be on guard when friends give away their treasured belongings. If you've been stabbed, don't take out the knife. I blame this act of dumbassery on Hollywood. Every character has to be macho and rip the knife out when they should just get their ass to a hospital. It's actually kind of paradoxical though. I mean, I'd be more impressed with a TV character that gets stabbed in the leg, leaves the knife in there, and continues on mission even though that's a bad idea too. In Old Boy the Good One. Duh. During the hallway fight Dae Soo gets stabbed in the back. And continues fighting, and it's so much cooler than if he had just ripped it out. If you are taken to the hospital and the doctors ask you if you have taken any drugs, don't just think about the illegal stuff, also tell them if you've had small things like Advil or Tylenol, it could save your life. Frankly, this needs to taught in schools. I've known people who took stuff and didn't tell the doctors. They either went into withdrawal, which prolonged their stay, or the doctors have them stuff which interacted with drugs and they nearly died cause of it. If you have to eat crickets or similar insects, chew them. Do not eat them alive. They have spines on their legs which can cling to your throat and are very difficult to remove without a decent amount of force, i.e., you can't shake your throat like you would your hand to remove them. If they block your windpipe, you'll asphyxiate. I used to work at a pet store. I've had to explain this to quite a few people who wanted to do fear factor parties or dares or pranks. Wait, pet stores just let you buy bugs if they know you're going to go home and eat them? This is like discovering a secret menu item at McDonald's. Haha, yummy dried barbecue crickets are sold at my local museum. Believe it or not, most places don't care what you do once you leave the store. At least with the bugs. However, if we know, then we have to go through a lot of spiels and sometimes paperwork. We sold feeder rats. They are advertised as feeders and not pets. If you told us you were buying it as a pet, we legally had to warn you they were not pets. The lack of medical information on each rat And have you signed a bunch of forms acknowledging that you know they could have behavioral issues and could develop medical issues because they were not bred to be pets? If you are truly lost in the woods, get ready to spend the night. Find yourself a little sheltered place and improve it the best you can. If you have the means, get a friendly little fire going. Protect yourself from the elements. And everything is going to look better in the morning. People who stay put get found. People who keep wandering into the night end up freezing to death at the bottom of a ravine with a broken ankle. If you're only a little bit lost, turn around and go back the way you came. This sounds super obvious. But getting lost in the woods is a process. You realize you're off the trail. But you know the car is right over that hill. But when you get to the hilltop, the other side doesn't look familiar. So you start following the creek down to the river you know parked upstream by the river. But you're actually headed up a different fork of the river. And there's nothing up that canyon but a lot of slippery rocks to die on. Whereas if you'd have just turned back around, chances are you'd find the trail in no time and be on your way back to the trailhead. Also, I'd just go ahead and drink out of a creek in any survival situation. This is very controversial. But I figure, waterborne illnesses aren't life-threatening in North America. You're not going to get cholera from a mountain stream. Whereas dehydration can cloud your mind and kill you. And even if you drank Giardia, which is pretty unlikely if you're lost in the woods, since it's mostly transmitted through human feces, it takes a full week to incubate. Most people are found by then. YMMV. Source: I was a USFS Wilderness Ranger. And I've spent a couple unplanned nights out in the woods. Not quite certain where I was. It's not that bad. Really? Undefined. And since this is Reddit, I should probably clarify. The grill starter match is for starting wood on fire. The match itself won't burn for more than 5 minutes. If you're a regular hiker, it's never a bad idea to practice building campfires. Go out to a city park with a fire pit and make s'mores one night. That way, it won't be your first rodeo if you're ever cold and lost. A 99 tinfoil astronaut blanket will keep you alive through almost any weather. Yeah, those blankets really are amazing. They don't look it, but they do everything a blanket should. Trap a layer of warmed air around you so you don't cool convectively. And they reflect thermal radiation as well. Something that a traditional blanket lacks. I took a solo camping trip out to the middle of a lake and found out the first night that I had packed a little light for the nighttime temps. Had one of those folded up in my emergency kit. And other than sounding like someone crumpling a potato chip bag in your ear every time I moved, it was nice and cozy. The symptoms of a heart attack are slightly different for men and women. This is one of the reasons women sometimes get diagnosed too late. Men: cold sweat/nausea, chest pressure/pain, shortness of breath, pain in arms, back, neck, jaws, stomach. Women: fainting/extreme fatigue, chest pressure, shortness of breath, upper back pressure, lightheadedness/dizziness, pain in arms, back, neck, jaws, stomach undefined. My cousin had a couple in October and her chief complaint was the feeling of heartburn and Pepcid wasn't putting a dent in it. Pretty sure she had the jaw pain too. So they were so weirded out they went to the ER. Glad she did. She had a second a couple weeks later. She's fine now and had her birthday last month. Don't pour water on a burning pan/oil/grease in the kitchen. Cover it with a damp cloth or towel. Water will make it explode like a bomb. Same goes for gasoline, I believe. The burning gasoline will just float on top. Still a flame, but now spreading more easily to something else flammable. Undefined. Adding to the grease fire thing. Baking soda will also put out a grease/pan fire quickly. You have to dump a lot on the fire and it makes a mess. But that's better than a fire burning the place down. I always keep a box of baking soda handy in the kitchen for this reason. And for God's sake, do not use flour instead, thinking white powdery substance is white powdery substance. It's the same. No, it is not. Flour will literally explode and make the fire worse. Baking soda only. You can also use salt.